just one final day in the Pyrenees before they will start setting an easterly course heading towards the Alps. A first time ever finishing line in the beautiful town of Foix after 104 miles of racing under blue skies, and there's a big crowd lining this. Now we go back to the start as they left Lannemezan for their journey today. They'll actually pass very close to Foix in the town limits before they go away again for a small circuit later on. This is the rollout. In the polka dot was Rico. This is the first sprint at Saint-Bertrand, and there was a breakaway starting to move clear here. Leonardo Duque, good sprint. Hushoff beating Oscar Ferrer, so getting 2 more points for the green jersey, but not altering the overall situation. Then there was a break on, and it was 13 riders reduced to 12 when Alexander Botcharov went over the top of the Col de l'Arieur, third, followed by Fedrigo Alessandro Balan. At that point, they were 12 minutes ahead of the field, and now as we join the action, that is the way it is. In fact, they're getting a bit more. The other sprint they went through, by the way, with 98 kilometers to go, Pizzato, he's in the breakaway, got 6 points. Marco Velo from Ilram got 4. Koos Moerenhout of Rabobank got 2. And Paul, the gap at the moment is about as big as it's been ever since they got clear, over 14 minutes.
Well, I know one man is going to be very happy about that move, and that's Craig Hummer, because Pipo Pozzato is in that leading group of 12 riders, and I think that is a possible winner for the stage, because I don't think anybody in the main field, Phil, is going to chase down this breakaway. None of those riders in the breakaway are seriously dangerous in the long-term win of the Tour de France.
Well, that is true. The best placed in the breakaway is Alexander Botcharov. He's 20 minutes and 47 seconds behind. Well, at least he was. He's now only 6 minutes behind, of course, with a 14-minute gain. It might be the combination that they want. Here is the dangerous moments for the peloton. They're back at the feed, which is at 85 kilometers. Here's all the leaders for you. Kurt Attel-Arvesen, Filippo Pizzato, Alessandro Balan, Alexander Botcharov. Onward we go. Dimitri Fofanov, Martin Elmiger, Fabian Weckman, Koos Moerenhout from Netherlands, and Rabobank, Peter Weening. Weening has just been wrongly given by the race radio. In fact, that is now Marco Velo. Fedrigo is 141, Von Renard 169, and Moignard there as well. And so the field now is beginning to decide whether to chase or not, because the leaders, Paul, are just about at the bottom of the Col de Portal.
Yes, they're just about to start there. Once they've gone through the feeding station, the main field is looking at around about 10 kilometers to the start of the climb, but I make it that the leaders should almost be ready to start that climb. Robbie McEwen and his team have been on the front end of the main field. They're setting a false tempo for Cadel Evans over the last 20 or 30 kilometers, but I don't think they want to use all of their ammunition on a stage like this. You know, the difficult thing about Cadel Evans getting that jersey by a single second, Phil, is now he has to defend it on these flat stages between the Pyrenees and on the way to the Alps.
And not a good day for Barlow World. One rider out with the second positive dope test, Duenas, and they've also lost Paolo Longo with a broken collarbone in a crash today. Well, there are still 167 riders dreaming of reaching Paris. We're getting closer. We'll take a break. And then won't react. Look, they just continue to make the pace again. That's Marco Velo.
Well, the gap there is not much more than 2 or 3 seconds, Phil, and still Moinard won't give up. But somebody's made a move across. That looks as if that could be Martin Elmiger.
That's him. It's a perfect day for Elmiger. He's got to get away, though. Former winner of Australia's Tour Down Under. And he's not won anything much since. He has been a champion of Switzerland, though, and they've caught him at 4 kilometers from the finish. He's got some legs, this young man. He's after him again.
Well, go on. He's come across there. He's really giving everything he's got, but watch out for Alessandro Balan coming across the gap there too, because Balan feels that he can get the victory this afternoon.
Well, this is excellent now as they try to get away. At 3.7 kilometers to go, Kurt Attel-Arvesen has joined Martin Elmiger of Switzerland on the attack. Elmiger, he's been complaining at Elmiger for not going through. Well, Elmiger's just opened the gap with a huge effort. And you see the cat and mouse tactics behind, Paul. This is anybody's stage now. The man that hits this group at the right time will win. I get that feeling it's not going to be a group sprint.
Well, Arvesen, a former under-23 world champion, and he's been the national road race champion of his country about 4 times, and he knows exactly how to win from a situation like this. Now is not the time to do cat and mouse tactics in the group behind, because these two riders are strong riders. They are men who know how to survive. There you can see the little flick of the arm coming from Arvidsson to say to Elmiger, come on mate, do a turn at the front, but I think he's pushing at the end of oxygen debt. They've got themselves about a 10-second advantage. Now if that group behind Phil starts to mess around, they're going to lose this stage.
They've got to put their heads down here, these two. They've got the gap at 2.7 kilometres. Kurt Atle Arvidsson, the champion of Norway. His only other victory this year was the Grand Prix E3, which is a top semi-classic race in Belgium in March. He's also won 2 stages in his career of the Tour of Italy, but never a stage of the Tour de France.
Balin is coming across now. You can just see the pink and blue jersey of the big man from Lamprey, a former winner of the Ronde van Vlaanderen and the Tour of Flanders. He wants to get himself a victory in the Tour here this afternoon.
It's his 3rd Tour de France. He's finished his previous 2, but he's never smelt a stage finish victory though. And is he trying to reach them there? He's had good form all year, Alessandro Balin. He sat near the back of that breakaway watching how the chase went, and once he's seen that rider caught, this is his big effort now to reach them, and he has the strength to ride away. He's coming over at 2 kilometres to go.
He could feel that the group behind was losing its impetus. They're zigzagging across the road. That's not a good sign. That's a sign that they don't have any organisation. Balin has made the junction, but somebody else is coming across now. That is Koos Moerenhout for Team Rabobank.
Well, we know that Rabobank has brought all the VIPs to the race today, so maybe he wants to fly the flag for the Dutch bank as he tries to cross the gap as well. And now a counter-attack by Kurt Atle Arvidsson. Elmiger tries to react. Balan's only just got up here. He is going to be feeling a little bit under pressure.
Oh, this is really hurting now as Kurt Atle Arvidsson has put in a storming turn at the front, and it's put the other 2 guys into a little bit of oxygen debt. But Elmiger has slowly pulled himself, clawed his way back to the wheel there of Arvidsson, and Balin looks over his shoulder. He must be wondering how he's going to recuperate now to try and have something at least left for the sprint.
Well, Kurt Atle Arvidsson, who's been the road race champion of his country on 4 occasions, one of them when he won the Under-23 World Road Race Championship, has now found 2 riders are giving him a problem. It's a nice mixture of nations here, Norway, Switzerland and Italy, trying for the stage win.
A little bit of oxygen debt though because of those accelerations. That was a very vicious acceleration by Kurt Atle Arvidsson just a few moments ago, and this will be a sight for sore eyes. 1 kilometre to go.
Under the last kilometre, 3 riders marginally in front here. Koos Moerenhout of Rabobank is desperately trying to reach them. We've got quite a narrow approach into Foix now. The road will split down the centre. It won't be so bad for the breakaway. And there is Moerenhout, and it will be a terrific victory for Koos if he could just catch them up here. He looks over his shoulder. There's space now. There's daylight. These boys aren't really racing away. They're scared of each other, and that's what Balin wants. He saw them. He's now going to make this a serious effort, or is he going to shut down because they've marked him? And Arvidsson gets straight onto his back wheel. What a brilliant finish to the day.
Well, I would have to think that nearly every one of these riders, Phil, is on the edge of asphyxiation because they've all hit it very hard to first of all get themselves into the breakaway situation. There's the bend at 300 metres to go.
As they come around that corner now they start to rise slightly uphill, and it looks as though Kurt Atle Arvidsson is going to lead them out here. Martin Elmiger, Balin is a very fast sprinter as he goes on the left of our picture. Moerenhout never got his legs after he came up to the break. Arvidsson is going to hold this, or is he? He's got Elmiger coming through. The legs are going on Arvidsson. Well, it's close enough. I'll take the photograph because it could have been Elmiger, that.
It was very close indeed. It was a throw for the liner. This is Botcherov coming up to get himself 5th place, and Pipo Pozzato will not be too happy with that, Phil, as he leads the rest home. Just behind, I have to say, Peric Fedrigo.
Yes, Pozzato was the obvious winner there, and he didn't read the moves. You had to work really hard to be in for the win today. Let's see if our helicopter gives us the result. There's all smiles as we cut back to Moinard crossing the line, and he still smiles. Huge effort, but we've cut away from that replay now. But there here we are back again. Let's have a look at this and just see how close was Elmiger. The door was opened on the left-hand side of Arvidsson. He saw it, and then on the right-hand side, Balin normally would win a sprint like this. He's a very fast finisher.
He's a rapid finisher, just trying to come up the side. There's a great approach there on the left-hand side from Elmiger, and the lunge for the line, well, you can see.
He's got it.
He's got it. Well, I wouldn't say easily, but he knows that he's got it. And a professional bike rider, Phil, 9 times out of 10, always knows when he's got the win.
But what a result for Team CSC. They threaten that, and I can tell you, by the way, that they support a village in South Africa, in Cape Town, and every time that they win a stage, Team CSC, they send €3,000 to that village in Cape Town. So that was a great result there. Just have a look here as we watch the sprint again. Right up on the inside. It was a brave move by Elminger there. Those legs were going, weren't they? But that's all right. That was a great victory. And Bolan there as well. The photo will split Bolan and Martin Elminger. So after 2 stage wins in the Giro d'Italia in the past, he's now got 1 stage win in a Tour de France. And the first one for Team CSC. Elminger has got 2nd place and Bolan 3rd, all same time. And Koes-Moerenhout lost 2 seconds in the sprint. As we look here once again at the Foix Castle, Chateau Foix sits high atop this ridge. You can see everywhere up there. And it looks like the medieval knights are all in full dress down there. Full medieval costume. This is the place for it as we sit snugly tucked under the Pyrenees. Oh, that's the end of the Pyrenees for this year's Tour de France. It's gone to a Norwegian. We'll be back with all the results next. We haven't forgotten about them, but the people in Foix are getting the leaders ready for the presentations. And while they await the arrival of Cadel Evans to give him a 2nd yellow jersey, because he won't lose that today. Gap is still very, very large. The peloton, you always get one day like this in the Tour de France. It's the day the breakaways always look for success. They've got it today, and the riders in the bunch who should have been in the breakaway are kicking themselves because the race has taken time out in the race for that yellow jersey. Cadel Evans is marking Frank Schleck. Frank Schleck is the red, white and blue rider just in front of the yellow jersey, wearing his champion of Luxembourg's colours. And he'll keep that 1 second gap tonight. He'll just sit around Frank Schleck until we get to the finishing line.
Well, there's Oscar Freire just in the middle of that gaggle of riders at the front in the green jersey. He will probably have to sprint it out at the end of the day, Phil, because there's still 8 points available for the next riders to come across the line. On this average mountain stage, there are only 20 points for the win and only down to 15th place.
Right, so 8 points for the win. The victory today, though, going to Arvidsson. First one for him. He's won 2 stages of the Giro d'Italia before. Very narrow miss for Martin Elminger there. Almost got his 1st stage win of the Tour.
Almost. He was trying. It was very close. And I think just looking at that, it can't have been very much more than 3 or 4 centimetres. He almost made that little overconfident mistake by throwing up your arms in victory. Just a little bit too close to the line.
Well, it often happens. Well, the green jersey should stay on the shoulder of Freire, but he does need to sprint because he's running Kim Kirken close at the moment. But Kirken won't be as fast a finisher, I don't think, as Oscar in the sprint. Well, Oscar did get points out on the course as well today.
Yeah, just actually it's points for the first 20 riders, and the next riders to come in, the first 8 riders from this group will get points from 8 down to a single point. So Oscar Freire will, I think, Phil, try and make sure that he leads home the main field, because I don't know whether Thor Hushovd is actually in this group.
That's a good point. I haven't seen him, but we'll find out when he comes to the finish. He'll certainly sprint if he's there. Mark Cavendish was an early man to drop off on the climb of the Col de Portal today. But he'll be all right. He'll come home. And as usual, it's the Silence Lotto team now looking after Cadel Evans. Robbie McEwen is here. Is that Robbie tucked in?
Well, I'm
so
not
he's
sure.
Come over the hill.
I think Thor Hushovd is in here as well. So we could see a pretty serious sprint, albeit for 13th place. But we've seen the sprint race go down to the final sprint on the Champs-Élysées on a number of occasions. And the fact is, you can see just moving over there to the right-hand side, Phil, you could see Thor Hushovd was going to go for the sprint with his teammates.
Well, Kurt Attel Arvidsson here, I think, was speaking in English then, but he's gone away. So as we're looking, the riders running down here, and he's very happy. He's at the finishing line here. Just looking down, the good roads, aren't they, for a fast running at this stage? That's the River Ariège on the right. It runs through, I reckon, one of the most beautiful parts of this country. And the peloton, there's going to be a big sprint here between the men who have lasting ambition for the green jersey competition. They've got to go for it, and I reckon we might see Kim Kirken also try to go for it as well, because he's not far away from the action. So 9 minutes, so 6 minutes still to go for the peloton. Let me remind you, one final time. Saab watching peloton here, being led by Jens Voigt. 1.5 kilometers to run to the finish here in Foix. And so I think we're going to see quite a sprint. Just looking to the right now, Team Columbia is coming up. I think Gerald Cholik is still here. I don't know if Mark Cavendish is, Paul, but it'd be Cholik they'll be thinking of if that's the case.
Well, out on the road, Oscar Freire got himself a few points in one of the intermediate sprint points. He's now got 133 points to Kirken's 124. And if you look how close that was, Phil, he almost made the mistake of the victory salute too soon there, didn't he?
Yes, another second, and he would have lost it to Elminger. That's bike racing for you. 1 kilometre to go for the peloton. This is the back of the group. We look into the narrow streets of Foix here. This is finally the arrival of the pack. 14 minutes has passed by at the finishing line, but there is still reason to sprint at the front for points for that green jersey sprinters competition.
Well, every stage of the Tour de France is categorised in a different way, and this is regarded, Phil, as an average mountain stage where there are points for the first 20 riders. There are 8 places left. There's Eric Zabel, Thor Hushovd, right on his wheel is Oscar Freire. It's very important for Oscar Freire to get points on every individual stage. He's third around the corner.
Well, the two top sprinters are shoulder to shoulder there, Hushovd and Zabel, and a big lead out here for Thor Hushovd. It's a strong man's finish. There's the little rise I was telling you about, and now Zabel locked into the wheel of Thor Hushovd here, but I don't think they're going to get over Big Thor as he continues to lead. Zabel will have to break out that pack very shortly, but it's not going to happen. Hushovd beats Zabel over the line, and that was a very good finish for the big God of Thunder. A few useful points there.
4 points more than Oscar Freire, so he's slowly but surely eating his way up to that green jersey competition, Phil, and that's a competition that he said at the start of the Tour de France this year that he wanted to win. That's 6 points he's pulled back on the day.
Very, very good indeed. Looking down on the Black Lake here, which is the source of the Ariège River, and we've just seen a great sprint by Thor Hushovd here, and a good day out for him. A 6-point gain in the green jersey competition, which will move him up a little bit closer, but he'll still be in third place tonight.
Well, that was important for him to try and get himself that excellent psychological advantage over Oscar Freire. Freire, though, Phil, will continue to do battle over the rest of this tour, because I think now he's starting to enjoy his days in the green jersey. I don't think that Kim Kirken got himself any points in that sprint up to the line, but that was a powerful demonstration by the Norwegian. It was, and they had equal advantage around that bend. They were almost shoulder to shoulder. But as the riders continue here, this was the breakaway again. A look at the finish. We now know he won by absolutely nothing. It looked to be about half a centimetre on the line in the end. And it was a brave move by Elminger, because when Balin made his rush on the outside here, watched the door open on the inside, and Elminger saw his chance here. Hats off to Arvidsson. He tried to just scare him out of it, but he didn't shut him down. He got disqualified for that, and he knew he'd won, but how he knew it, look at that. He's almost touching the line alongside him. That was a good sprint. Stage results, Arvidsson getting in, same time of course as Elminger and Balin, then 2 seconds to Mohrenhout, 11 seconds to Alexander Bocharov, who finished in 5th place. All of these men in the breakaway today. Fedrigo Pozzato only 7th, he won't be happy with that. Rorenard 8th, Fabian Wegman 9th, got pretty hard in the last few kilometres. Fofanoff 11th, and then a 12-man breakaway completed by our breakaway, Moinard, who came in at the end 29 seconds back. Hushovd led them all home 14 minutes later. And then Oscar Freire did well to get 16th, few points. Kim Kirken got some points in the green as well in 17th. Christian van der Velde shows just how well he is going with a fine 19th place. Let's go back down now to Frankie Andreu, who's with today's winner.
Kurt, congratulations. What a fantastic and exciting finish. I'm sure for you it was very stressful, but a great Tour de France stage win.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. I've been waiting for this victory since I did the Tour the first time, and yeah, I was second behind Savoldelli in 2005. So this was a good revenge.
A nice revenge. Take me through the final 250 meters. You started sprinting very early. You were almost shifting speeds as you saw riders coming up next to you. I didn't think you had so many efforts left in your legs.
I went away 4K to go, and then I saw the guys were a bit tired, and then tried to attack again. Then Balin came up, and yeah, and then I was leading through the last corners here. And I didn't go full gas from the corner. I wanted to wait a little bit, and then when I saw the guys came up to me, then I just put the hammer down.
You had your team chasing in the back. You were able to sit on a little bit in the front. Part of the strategy there for you to be able to have a little bit of a rest before the final kilometers?
No, I didn't really know they were chasing behind, so I just did my final, and I had good coaching from Scott Sunderland in the car, and yeah, it's just amazing to be a part of this Team CSC Saxo Bank.
Congratulations, couldn't have worked out any better.
Thank you.
It certainly could not. A happy man, though. We'll see him on the podium in a few minutes' time now that Frankie's finished with him. He'll be off to get his jersey changed, and then he'll be on the podium. Well, a great win for him, even so, Paul.
A brilliant win, but I tell you what, I think he'll think again before he celebrates his victory salute at the end of a race, because that victory salute at the end of that race there, Phil, nearly lost him the stage, because he actually was almost overtaken on the line by Martin Elmiger with that last lunge that he put in.
Back to the podium now. Cadel Evans salutes the crowd. Great first day in yellow for him. The 1 second margin hasn't improved, but his appearance has. He's not crying now, and he's smiling with joy in his second maillot jaune.
Well, I think an important day in the saddle. I'm sure he enjoyed wearing the yellow tunic there, Phil, at the front end of the main field. He was well supported by his teammates, and they were never really under pressure on a day like this, apart from, of course, when Team CSC went for the front to create a little bit of a rumble. I think he likes that line.
He's in love with the line. Then he's still exactly the same as it was this morning. They all finished together today, so that means Christian van der Velde still needs 38 seconds to get his maillot jaune. He sits there in third place. Bernard Cole is fourth. Denny Menchoff, big danger, we think, at 57 seconds. Sastre is always a menace. He's a podium man. He's in sixth place. Kim Kirken has only dropped to seventh. He can get that back. Juan Jose Cobo, Ricardo Rico, two teammates there, 8th and 9th. Vladimir Efimkim of Russia rides terrifically well this year. His best ever tour, sitting in 10th. Away from the Tour de France, he takes his team with him. The Tour de France goes on. We head now to the Mediterranean, to Narbonne, which is not a regular stop-off point on the route of the Tour de France, but it is a lovely place. It's also a place which is rather windy. There's the Cathedral Saint-Just and Saint-Sever. That is the big building in these parts. Let's go back to the start this morning. After all the chaos surrounding Sonia Duval, they left in a different direction to the race this morning. Cadel Evans there as safely ensconced, looking forward to the third day in yellow. And straight away, but the boys got down to it. Arnaud Gérard of France and Samuel Dumoulin, the man that won in Nantes, got clear. First climb coming after 57 kilometres, the Col du Campari. These two riders leading by 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And Sebastian Lang came out of the peloton to confirm his new leadership in the King of the Mountains, but he's not wearing the polka dot jersey. And this is how it comes from the bunch up towards the line. Interesting, Paul, but I guess there was no time to set him up with the new jersey.
Well, everything was all very last minute. As you can see, Sebastian Lang accelerating towards the summit of the climb here to get himself at the maximum, or the remaining 1 point. And the fact that he wasn't wearing the polka dot jersey, Phil, I think just is that all of this news at the moment is breaking news, and we'll keep you updated throughout the whole of the afternoon.
But I think the significant thing is he knows he's the leader of that competition, so he decided to carry on now and push home. That's how we work it out at the moment. Lang is the leader with 58 points, just 2 points ahead of his teammate Bernard Cole. Schleck is third here, Sanchez is fourth, and Nibali, the new leader in the white jersey competition, and we think he is actually wearing the white jersey. He's there as well.
Yes, he is. I saw him a little bit earlier on and saw that he was wearing the white jersey, but there's been a few abandons out on the course, and sadly enough, the one man who did abandon was a rider from Team Barlow World, Baden Cook, because he went down early on in a crash and pulled off at the side of the road.
There's the situation. 158 left now of the 180 with the abandon of Baden Cook. Teams intact, half of them, 10 of 20. And one has gone home, so it's really only 10 of 19 now, I suppose, as we look out across the beautiful valley here, saying goodbye to the Ariège. 72 degrees today. It's a lovely day. There is a chance of rain, stormy rain, and the wind is coming at 10 miles an hour. But I'll tell you, that's up in the valleys. It's a lot stronger down at the finish, but they are racing very quickly. For the moment, they're picking up a tailwind. They've covered a massive 51 kilometres in the first hour today.
Well, we expected a rip-roaring stage this afternoon, and that's exactly what we're being treated to at the moment, and I think it might even be even faster for when we get down to the flatlands, and I wouldn't be surprised Team CSC come to the front and try and create a little bit of havoc.
Well, the gap was up at 3:40 at the climb of the Col du Compéry. It's come down a bit now. It's around about 2 3/4 minutes. There's all the teammates of the man in yellow, Cadel Evans, all keeping around him, keeping him warm and safe. It's perfect timing, and 9.5 kilometres from the finish. The catch is almost complete. Stuart O'Grady of CSC Saxo and from Australia shuts it down after an awful long breakaway again there by Samy Dumoulin and Arnaud Gérard and Orez in the end. The field all together now. The sprinters are going to have their day for sure.
3.
It's Agri Toubel who's now also driving this on. Jimmy Casper, a man who is nearly last in the race classification but can pack a punch in the sprint finish. The team trying to put him in position.
Where are the men of Team Silence Lotto looking after Cadel Evans? He needs to have somebody in front of him here, Phil, to pace him up to the front end of the pack, because if there's a split on the run in towards the finish, 1 second is the click of a finger.
Absolutely, and they've just left him here. Have they moved across to help Robbie McEwen? But Cadel, he's following the wheel there of, I think it's Fabian Cancellara, but the thing is, and you see there's another rush up the inside. He's got to be very careful now. He's exposed here, but there's the man he's a second ahead of, Frank Schleck, riding on the back wheel of Cadel Evans.
Psychologically, the Luxembourger just sitting on the wheel of Cadel Evans saying, mate, I'm your closest challenger and I'm right here at the moment. Coming around the corner, this is the chaos at the back, and I wonder if that's Thomas Lovquist. He had a flat tyre a few moments ago.
6 kilometres to go, the field all together, but it looks a really dicey moment out there as Team CSC tried to guide their sprinter through. Stuart O'Grady's done a great job on the front, trying to keep this pace so high nobody can come and join him here, and that's the attitude now. Cadel Evans a little bit isolated because he's got no team around him.
That's a bit of a pressure moment for him there. Now look at this, Frank Schleck moving up to the front end of the main field. Now Cadel Evans has put a fraction onto the defensive. He knows there's only a second between the two of these riders. In the back of my mind, Phil, I feel that this is a little bit of a psychological warfare, a psychological battle that Team CSC are taking to Cadel Evans.
They've got to watch this, you know. The 3 kilometre rule will apply today, so he's got to get into that 3 kilometre zone, and then if anything happens, he'll get the same time. Cadel Evans is absolutely right to lock on to Frank Schleck. He's making it quite clear, Paul, he does not want to give away this yellow jersey.
He does not want to lose the golden fleece, the maillot jaune, which he garnered on the slopes of Hautacam, which he pulled away from the shoulders of anybody else in the bike race. Frank Schleck thought he'd got it, but Cadel Evans dearly wanted it. You can see the organisation now, the riders in the pale blue jerseys of Team Columbia. That is the team, and there's a lot of riders from Team Columbia at the front of this pack, Phil. They're going to try and line it out for Mark Cavendish. Right. Samy Dumoulin speeds like this because if you do, it becomes very chaotic in the sprint behind. Adam Hansen says, OK, well, you carry on for a bit, but I'll take over later on.
So Liquigas trying for possibly Kiki there, but Adam Hansen is trying to keep the line going. He's the big lead-out man, the big power man who can hold high speed for a long time. He'll peel off about 2 kilometres out.
Over on the left-hand side, you can see 2 riders in the pale blue together. That's Gerard Cholik and, of course, Mark Cavendish. This is the roundabout at 3.5 kilometres to go. It's a long straight line now, Phil, for 2 kilometres. Then you've got that right-hand bend and you line up for a 1 kilometre straight dash at the finish line.
Brett Lancaster on the front now for Team Milrammers. He tries to pave the way. Another Australian in the race, of course, as we go under 3 kilometres to go now. Eric Zabel trying to get a signature win here as we race towards Narbonne, and that we are absolutely flying. This is Lancaster driving on.
Straight out into a big long line. Robbie Hunter in the red and yellow there of Barlow World. He wants to try and get himself a victory to bring the team a little bit of good luck and good morale this afternoon after all the bad luck they've had over the last couple of days. Now a slowing down moment. This is when you have to take control again. Look at the control on the left-hand side. Team Columbia now lining up 1, 2, 3, 4 men. The 4th man will be Mark Cavendish. Excuse me, Mr. Hunter, I'm coming in here because this is my lead-out line.
The right-hand side is the blue jersey of Team Columbia. The green jersey are trying to lead out Thor Hushoff. On the far left-hand side, Gerolsteiner trying to bring up Robert Forster here. And also in the mix there is Pozzato. And in fact, Casper's getting in the middle as well. All the sprinters are trying to come through. This is Robbie Hunter dodging on the right-hand side in red.
Big George Hincapie now takes over the pacemaking at 2 kilometres to go. Marcus Burkhardt slips back in there. He knows they're a long way out from the finish line. They're waiting to see. Look at the outside there. Mark Cavendish has slipped back an awful long way, and he's going to get moved up on the right-hand side by his teammate. That is Gerard Cholek.
Well, just looking now, they've got the train going, and it's a well-organised train here. Hunter's trying to hitch up to the back of it here. Cavendish is over to the left of our picture. In fact, his teammates were looking now. This is a move they don't want to see. At 1.5 kilometres to go, there is a counter move on the far side. It's Milram.
Milram in control now. They'll be looking after their man, and their man is going to be Erik Zabel here this afternoon. I have a funny feeling I can see that's Julian Dean in 4th position. The Kiwi national champion is looking for a victory here this afternoon for Garmin Chipotle, but right behind him, queuing up, the big men from Quick-Step. They've done this so many times before for Tom Boonen. Today they're going to try and do it for Gert Steegmans, and right in the middle of the mix there is Robbie McEwen.
But this is the right-hand turn, a wide sweep by some of the riders there. They've managed to correct it. Cadel Evans lost a lot of places, but he's safe in the peloton here now as the acceleration comes from the front. And again, it is a perfect lead out here for possibly Thor Hushovd and certainly Oscar Freire. He's in the lighter green jersey. Gert Steegmans is trying to make a move, and they are making that run on the left-hand side of the road.
It's such a long way to go. You dare not misjudge this. Now, all of a sudden, Thor Hushovd has jumped ship. He's left his teammate and lead-out man behind him. He's still got there Mark Renshaw, but it's Team Quick-Step in the front, and into about 3rd or 4th position is the young man from the Isle of Man, Mark Cavendish, but on his shoulder is Hushovd, on his wheel is Oscar Freire.
And just behind too is Jimmy Casper here now. Now goes Cavendish, goes from the centre. This is a perfect lead out, and this is how he goes, and beat that. He is the fastest man in the world right now, Mark Cavendish. There's nobody even comparing. Mark Cavendish becomes the first British cyclist to ever win 3 stages in a Tour de France. He's done it for the American team Columbia, and they wanted him to give up and go to the Olympic Games. Not chance, no chance.
No chance at all. There's a lot of pressure on this young man from the United Kingdom to leave the Tour de France behind and go and concentrate on the Olympic Games. But this man, Phil, is on the top of his game at the Tour de France. 3 is what he's trying to tell us. 3 stage victories in a single Tour de France ahead of Erik Zabel and Oscar Freire and Thor Hushovd. This was a great performance. The team did a great job for him. But just have a look at it one more time. You can see the acceleration there coming forward of Sebastian Chavanel, and then all of a sudden the man from the Isle of Man, he feels the instinct to go. He can feel the challenge over on the right-hand side, but once he sees the door opening right in front of him, he kicks, the turbo whistles, and all of a sudden he can see the finishing line. He looks under his shoulder. Any shadows? No shadows. I've got this one in the bag. Win number 3.
Sebastian Chavanel, best position for him there in 2nd place, and he comes up to the line. It's a tight judge after that. Looks like it might be Steegmans, but that was a perfect win. He was slowing down there, waving fingers at the crowd. No problems at all for Mark Cavendish. He's written a little bit of history today, and he really is. You can see it. He is so fast. Sebastian Chavanel 2nd, Steegmans his best place too. Same time, Sebastian Chavanel getting a good result for Française des Jeux. Gert Steegmans at last flying the flag for Belgium and Quick-Step. Erik Zabel's always there, and Oscar Freire gets good points in the green in 5th. Kiki, who was looking for the win, he got 6th. Hushovd will not be happy with 7th. Leonardo Duque 8th, and Julian Dean was looking for it today. He comes home in 9th for Garmin Chipotle. Heinrich Hausler, the man who lives in Germany but comes really from Australia, was in 10th. Robert McEwen 11th. Robbie's not really sprinting so well these days. Jimmy Casper 12th. Hunter 13th. Top 15 was Alessandro Ballan. All given the same time, of course. And Elminder 2nd yesterday, 14th today. Kim Kirken 16th. And Sif Su from Team Columbia 17th. Robert Foster 19th. And Cadel Evans keeping out of trouble and up at the front. It is the 13th day of the Tour de France. We have now ridden more than 2,000 kilometres, and today we'll add another 113 miles. The people are ready here on the Avenue Jean Jaurès, and we are ready too in the Col. 158 riders still in the Tour de France of the 198 that started. This was the rollout from Narbonne, where we finished yesterday, and where Mark Cavendish came streaking along in the home straight. Will he do it again today? Well, he's got to chase these 2 down first. This was an attack virtually when the departure flag was pulled in. Nicky Terpstra from Milram and Florent Bard of Cofidis went clear. Nobody reacted. By the time they arrived at the climb of the Côte de la Recluse, they had a lead of over 5 or 6 minutes, and it was over the top Florent Braud, Nicky Terpstra, and that was literally moments ago. We are still waiting for the arrival now of the peloton. They are on the climb, Paul.
They've just started the climb. The polka dot jersey on shoulders of Sebastian Lang over to the right-hand side. The man setting the tempo on the front, not surprisingly, is from Team Columbia. And they're obviously making sure that those two leaders, Phil, don't get too big an advantage. While at the back, there's a lot of work being done by the race doctor. Lang has 2 points advantage over his own teammate, Cole, Bernard Cole, and Schleck is up there in third position. Sammy Sanchez fourth, and Vincenzo Nibali is in fifth place.
Well, Lang is wearing the polka dot jersey today. He wouldn't take it by default yesterday after they kicked out Rico. So he pulled it on today, of course, and he got a couple of points yesterday to make him feel he really earned the right to wear it today. We should see him pop out. The rider in second place is his teammate on Gerolsteiner, so they're hardly going to attack each other. So we should see him just come clear of the field at the top. It's a very fast climb, this. We've seen it, of course, with the two leaders going over. And as you can see, road surface is good and a very friendly crowd out there today.
Well, it's the first of 3 fourth category climbs on the day, while at the back of the main field, Fabian Cancellara drops into the bar to keep himself stocked up with liquid, with the acceleration coming from Sebastian Lang, which is not surprising. There's no reaction here at all. He's jumping away here for a single point. There are only points for the first 3 riders on these fourth category climbs.
So Braud, Terpstra, Lang is the order over this climb. We still have a long way to go today. 120 kilometers for the peloton. Now the gap of 6:40 is in fact coming down. We have been up to almost 10 minutes. So the peloton is starting to work early on today. Good tempo riding, and the two leaders aren't actually going clear anymore. There's the peloton as they cross over. Not too sure what the gendarme was doing down on the right of our picture there, but anyway, the field's safely on. We're racing down by the Camargue today, so we might see the very famous flamingos down here as they sit around the edges of the Mediterranean. They need special shallow water in which to filter out the mud for the insects which they eat. So there's the two leaders. Milram, first tour for Nicky Terpstra. He's been a Dutch track champion a number of times over the last 5 years, 8 in fact, but this is his first Tour de France. Florent Braud, he's been a champion of France. He's in the red. They're just hoping the boys turn the power off, because at the moment they haven't. They are closing them down. So the Tour de France goes on as we head now towards Nîmes. See you in a moment. A beautiful picture coming to you from France. Live pictures here on Versus. This is the Tour as it winds its way now towards the Roman city of Nîmes. And they are chasing another breakaway today. The traditional attack's gone early. They never even raised a wheel in anger when Nicky Terpstra and Florent Braud decided to go off up the road almost as the flag was pulled in. They just looked at them and thought they were from a different planet as those two riders sprinted away. They sprinted to a lead of over 9 minutes, but as you can see now, it's down to 7, which is interesting. It means they've started to pull them back quickly. We've been over the fourth category hill. A couple more to come before we head right down, not quite sea level, but virtually. You won't notice the ripples. A couple of sprints towards the end as well. How's that for a pretty picture? It's such a diverse country, France. You can have mountains, flat roads, sun, beaches, you name it. This country seems to have it. And the riders down there at the moment as we head towards the Department of the Guard today rather. Anyway, let's remind you as we go on to versus.com/fly to the finish. Our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes here. Big prizes, a Saab 9.3 Sport Combi, also a Cervelo bicycle, polka dot jersey, yellow jersey. You need the word jet engine today, our code word, to play that game. These twisty little hills here, although it's not an official climb, they do bite at the legs in this sort of a weather condition today. Just looking at the sun coming down there, Paul, high in the sky, officially on our computer, 29 degrees Celsius. So that's in mid-80s terms now. Nicky Terpstra, he's won 8 Dutch championships throughout his amateur career on the track. He turned professional last year for Milram. He's been a king of the mountains in the Tour of Germany, but the Black Mountains of Germany aren't quite the Alps of the Tour de France. And now he's in his first breakaway in this year's Tour, in his first Tour. There he is, 157. Bit more experience there from Florent Braud.
Number 6, Robbie McEwen. Robbie McEwen, sprinter turned top-end domestique, I'd have to say, here in the Tour de France.
Sitting there at the back, dodging around. Garmin-Chipotle, they're also well in this race, as we know, with Christian van der Velde, taking advantage of these flat stages to keep himself out of the public eye, preparing, though, for what is going to be a very important few days, just literally around the corner now, when the big riders will attack each other very, very hard in the Alps. Peloton at 7:05. It's still ever so slowly coming back as we course around this beautiful department of France under clear blue skies.
Well, interesting you mentioned the fact that we go around the Camargue in the early part of the route here. Instead of going along the Mediterranean coastline, the race is actually turned inland to make it just a little bit more lumpier and competitive, and that's why we've gone in to find 2 or 3 of these little climbs around the area. But once we start to drop down towards Nîmes, the riders won't be too far away from the very magnificent area of the Camargue, where, as Phil said, if you do come down here, Phil, you can get a chance to see the flamingos. 50-50, and that's roughly the amount of work that's being done by these two riders. They're sharing the pacemaking. They're both pretty good individual riders, and they realize that to succeed in a situation like this, they need to share the pacemaking at the front.
And as you can see, a lot of people down here on the holidays may as well watch the Tour de France. They can't go anywhere else along this road. It's totally closed to all traffic for a few hours today, so they just have to wait. Not that they don't want to. They love the Tour de France despite all the scandal that surrounds it these days. I must say, hats off to both Mark Cavendish and Cadel Evans. When they were in the press room last night, they gave their answers to the journalists who were saying the Tour de France is finished, cycling is dead, and they both said absolute rubbish. This is the one sport in the world which is actually conscious of its problems and trying to clean it up. And both Cavendish and Evans said this is a sport they love. And it's not a problem with the sport, it's a problem with certain people within these beautiful plane trees that grow here. And the French always have their own method of pruning them. They cut all the branches off and they all shoot back again, so they get very strong trunks to the trees, and they're dead straight lines usually, and they form a lot of shelter from the sun.
Pretty dangerous to drive along, though, on days like this, because you get a strobe effect on them, and they can actually put a lot of drivers to sleep. And the problem is, if you fall asleep driving through an avenue of plane trees, the trees don't move.
Good point. Peloton enjoying a few moments of humour down there by the look of it amongst the boys on Française des Jeux. They've had a very, very good tour, Française des Jeux. Always have men in the action. Not everybody can do what Cadel Evans is doing and wear the maillot jaune, as we well know. But there are other ways of grabbing the limelight in a Tour de France. Virtually all those, the indigenous plants of the region down here growing on that centre circle. There's the peloton from road angle.
Just moving up to the front there, the riders from Barlow World on the left-hand side there. I'm sure that's going to be Robbie Hunter, not too far away from the front end of the pack. Robbie must be quite quiet at their dinner table in the evening, Phil, because there's only 4 riders left from Barlow World, and I was reading in the race announcements this morning that they've been told they can only use 1 team car now because they've gone into the minimum number of 5 for a team.
Well, Robbie Hunter, when he set off for the Tour de France this year, just said goodbye to his wife. When he goes back, he'll be saying hello to his wife and his new daughter, Mandy, who's just been recently born while the Tour de France has been underway.
And he may well be going back with a stage victory under his belt, because Robbie's been pretty consistently up in the top 10 to 15 places. He's a very good sprinter, but I think he will look to maybe a stage like tomorrow for Hunter, because I think tomorrow's stage up towards Digne-les-Bains is going to be a very difficult, heavy stage for a lot of the riders, because it gradually starts to move up to the foothills of the Alps.
Yes, and that's when the Tour de France will resume its second phase, really. The attacks on
Robbie
the
McEwen.
Yellow jerseys.
Oh no,
Robbie McEwen, what is he, up a tree?
We were upside down for a moment.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, we have one Australian cameraman on the race. That must have been him. 6:58. It's going out towards 7 minutes. They've lost a little bit of interest just for the moment, but they won't. They're conscious all the time of that progress of that 2-man breakaway. They are told constantly by their team managers, so they won't allow it to wander off too far, I don't think. Française des Jeux here have lost only 1 rider. Sadly, it was Lilian Jégou, who had a very nasty crash about a week ago now, so that's the man they have lost. Otherwise, they'd have a full team here.
Yeah, that was a very nasty crash, and that was...
well, he hit one of these similar trees, didn't he?
It was in the crosswinds like this, and he was just edging over to the side of the road, trying to find a little bit of respite from the wind, and unfortunately he went off the side of the road and hit one of those trees. In fact, he had to have an operation on his jaw, which was nastily cracked.
Ouch. And these are the two riders then in the red jersey for Cofidis. They also lost a man, of course. He crashed early on. That was Hervé Duclos. We told you the tale about him with one of those feeding bags into his spokes that took him out, and he broke his wrist. He was out within 2 hours of the race starting. How unlucky is that? He just got the phone call to say he'd made the last one of the 9 riders in the team for Cofidis, and he crashed out within 2 hours of the first stage. Really bad luck.
Pretty bad luck when you're riding your first Tour de France. A little bit of work at the back here for Team CSC. Kurt Adler-Arvesen pacing back, Nicky Sorensen pacing back, Fabian Cancellara, and I think the man they stopped for was the man there, Phil, in the red, white and blue, Frank Schleck. And
do
again,
you think Cadel Evans went back just to keep an eye on Frank, because they'd only split by that 1 second?
I have a feeling Cadel went back for what the French like to call a besoin naturel.
Well, he may have gone back because Frank went, and he knew Frank wouldn't attack.
Well, you can still see there on the legs of Cadel Evans the scars from that crash he had on the first of the big Pyrenean stages. I think Cadel is getting better as every stage goes by, and he realizes that the most difficult part of this Tour de France, Phil, is actually around the corner, because it's this last week of the Tour this year which I think is going to be quite infernal, with some really difficult mountain stages. The Alps this year, I think, as you said just a little bit earlier on, are going to be worse than we've ever had, because they are so steep, with 2 climbs pretty much up to 3,000 meters in altitude, and they're not the only 2 climbs on the Alpine passes that we'll be going through.
No. Huge crowd already assembling for next Wednesday on the Alpe d'Huez. They're already there with their camper vans waiting for the arrival of the Tour. It is going to be a sensational crowd this year, tailor-made for him. I noticed Terpstra is grimacing occasionally. I think he's feeling the pressure of the day now. It was 182 kilometers today. They went away during the first kilometer of the stage, so there's been away the whole race just now, which is well in excess of 110 kilometers.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, that is actually starting to show on the face here of Nicky Terpstra. It's a long, hard day in the saddle, especially with the temperate weather and the climate as it is here this afternoon, and that really eats into the advantage of a breakaway like this. And psychologically, when it's as hot as this, you're just thinking about getting to the swimming pool at the hotel in the evening, which is actually out of bounds for professional bike riders.
Why is that?
Well, because swimming is not very good for your muscles, especially when you've ridden a bike for 2 weeks almost in a row, and it has a funny effect on the muscles, and it tends to make you extremely stiff instead of actually having a relaxing effect.
There's the peloton again, splitting around the roundabout. Always makes for a little bit of acceleration to get back where you were as you rejoin the family at the front of the race. 3 minutes 15, continuing to come down here. And we're just on 100 kilometers now, almost, 62 kilometers to go from the finishing line here. I think I said 100 earlier. I was reading those kilometers as miles. Anyway, there are the leaders at the front. The men in white are nursing Sebastian Chavanel. Showed his best turn of speed the whole Tour de France yesterday, and so they might think he can handle Mark Cavendish in the sprint. Here, as we climb around the Pic Saint-Loup, here in the department of France, just down by the Mediterranean. This is actually the next 4th category prime, but I hasten to add that the road isn't on this actual part of the mountain. It's way down there in the valley. Stunning view indeed. And so as we look here across the fields, I can tell you that agencies around the world are reporting that Leonardo Pipoli, the winner of the stage into Hautacam, has been sacked by his team, Sonia Duval, for breaking the doping code of ethics. Now, there's nothing been announced here on the Tour de France about him having a problem with that stage at Hautacam, although rumours were rife before we came on air, and there still isn't at the moment. Rico, of course, disqualified by the Tour. He's already been kicked out by his team. But Pipoli has come as a slight surprise, I think. We'll wait for more from the Tour organisation, because as far as we know, any results from his drugs test here have not yet been made public. But the team has acted, and they've sacked him already for breaching the code of ethics, which is a code that the riders sign when they sign up for riding for the professional team. More on that as the day unfolds, I suspect. We're looking at the 2 leaders now. 2:33, the gap continues to come down. Terpstra doing a bit of work, but struggling under the sun.
That Florent Brard has decided to lift the pace just a fraction.
Yeah, maybe he's going to try and run for it. He knows that's the end of the serious rolling countryside. We get down to reasonably nice roads now for flat racing, but of course the bunch know that as well. 2.5 minutes, more or less, the gap to the yellow jersey of Cadel Evans, who still leads this tour by a single second. There's the cows of the region.
And they're all coming out to see the Tour de France as well, I think, this afternoon.
As long as there's a fence, we'll be fine. That's where all the fans park their cars, you see. Meanwhile, there's the Tour creeping through. Lower slopes of the peak for them, over the top for the two leaders. He's still willing to work, though, Nicky Terpstra. On the track, he's an absolute demon. He's been 8 times a Dutch champion at various types of track racing. He's a very fast track rider. He turned professional last year, and he is now riding his first Tour de France.
One of the reasons he was brought into Team Milram was because of that speed that he's got for the track, for leading out the sprints originally for Alessandro Petacchi, but nowadays more certainly to lead out the sprints for Erik Zabel, who didn't do a bad job yesterday, getting himself across the line in 4th place, and may well still be looking for a stage victory before the end of this year's Tour.
Well, they might take heart from the fact that I think Mark Cavendish is getting a little bit tired, but in the last 200 metres he didn't show it yesterday. He said he was fine, he wasn't feeling tired before the Pyrenees, but once at the other side he said he was feeling tired. And I think because of that he's planning an early departure from the Tour de France now for the Olympic Games. Doesn't want to use up what energy he has left climbing the Alps.
Well, I'm amazed, Phil, actually, at 23 years of age, he's opted to ride both the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France. He said he wanted to ride the Giro d'Italia to learn how his body would react when it went over the big mountain passes, to try and figure out if later on in his career he could come to the Tour de France and win the green jersey points classification. Well, he's done that. He survived a Grand Tour, the Giro d'Italia. This year, he's come to the Tour because it's the Tour, because he loves the atmosphere, because he loves this race, and he has a passion for the event as well. But I think he's a little bit worried about the fact that he doesn't want to run himself down before the Olympic Games, because he's a serious challenger to get himself a gold medal at the Olympics in Beijing in only about 3 weeks' time.
And just coming up to the top, Lang comes up for another point, so he's got 2 points in his leadership, but he's actually increased his lead by 1 because the rider behind him is Bernard Cole, his teammate, having a little bit of a laugh with each other. They're sitting 1st and 2nd in the King of the Mountains.
You might just notice that little acceleration, the power wattage there for Sebastian Lang was almost 500 watts. That gives you an indication that he was really putting a bit of pressure into trying to get himself the single point that was left at the top of that climb.
He moved out of green into yellow, so he had a little bit in reserve even so. He let his heart catch up with his legs now as he drops back into the peloton, as they've got a very nice freewheel here.
Well, it really is a magnificent backdrop down here as these riders summit to the Pic du Saint-Loup and start the descent, which runs down for about 5 or 6 kilometers. And then, of course, I think the main field will start to seriously pick up the pace as they charge down towards the outskirts of Nîmes and hopefully set up for what is going to be a grand finale of the sprinters. So far, in the flat sprint finishes that we've had, Mark Cavendish from the Isle of Man and from the United Kingdom, I should say, has got himself 3 for 3.
So there we see the Mont d'Ortus. I suppose they mean the big rock in the background, do they, Paul? Here comes the field as they now come through this lovely grove of trees here. I think they'll get down to business now because we've got, looking at my instructions here, 12 kilometres to go to the sprint now at Saint-Beaugilles. And I reckon that by then this bunch is going to be on those 2 leaders, because I think people like not necessarily Frère, but Thor Hushovd will want points on those sprints. Believe me, we're looking here now at the catch again, and very calmly but surely Team Milram, who's had the leader all day up the road, now seen him come back, are now concentrating on trying to get Erik Zabel to the line. There's the move on the left by Team Columbia, and I think that might be Mark Cavendish in that little group of 3.
Well, he doesn't need to go to the front just yet. Team Milram all over the front end of this main field for their man Erik Zabel, becoming a little bit of an elder statesman himself at 38 years of age. I think they really need to turn the crank up at around about 5 or 6 kilometres to go. That's the recipe that George Hincapie would like to adopt if he can. You see Team Columbia there, Phil, are around about 10th to 15th position there. That's ideal for them. There's a crash at the back.
Here. And this is one of the Gerolsteiner riders who's gone down. In fact, this is Sven Kraus. And this must be where it happened. I don't know where to advise you to look. And look at that bike go up in the middle. My goodness me, that was a prank. His bike's in two halves there, completely smashed, and he looks okay. Well, that'll go down as the most sensational crash we've seen on the Tour this year.
Well, these traffic islands here are very dangerous indeed. This is Sylvain Chavanel, and he's trying to steal the thunder away from his brother. This is his brother Sebastian Chavanel, who is the sprinter on the Française des Jeux.
Separate team, get his own back from the other day on the road to Nantes.
That's probably what he's thinking about here this afternoon. You've got to be a very special bike rider, though, Phil, to ride off the front end of the main field.
Look at that, Paul.
And
two halves.
Well, look at the damage he's done to the roadside as well.
Unbelievable, and let's hope Sven is okay here. He's got to get back and chase, of course, at 8 kilometres out. He's losing time standing around, but let's hope he's okay. He looked as though he had a problem with his right arm. But there is a fantastic move here by Sylvain Chavanel, the brother of Sebastian, but they race on separate teams. The other week we had the situation where the white jerseys chased the red jersey. Now it's a complete reversal.
Well, they're not chasing right now. They're leaving the pressure of the chase up to Team Milram from Germany, but this is quite a clever move by this young man. Sylvain Chavanel for many years was regarded by the French as a possible high finisher in the Tour de France, but since then I think he's turned his mind to looking for individual stages and individual glory, but he's hit them here, Phil, at a pretty good time.
Well, you've got the Liquigas boys coming up as well. They are the Italian squad, and they've got again Kiki on there. He was up in the sprint yesterday. Sylvain Chavanel has caught them there. They might be a little bit in disarray after they heard that crash of Sven Kraus. That was a terrible crash. No further news on him at the moment, but we saw his bike.
Yes, it's always a scary moment when you hear the noise of grinding steel behind you in a run-in towards the finish like this, and it takes the wind out of riders occasionally. But there you can see the fact that the main field is spreading across the road. I think they've got confidence they can pull Sylvain Chavanel back into the fold wherever they want to. He's taken it to the left-hand side to go around that roundabout, and half of the field is going to follow him. The other half is going to the right.
Well, that's the problem with these big roundabouts, of course, and it's very tough to race around those roundabouts and get back into the right position at the head of the field. Sylvain Chavanel has very, very good form. This is not just a hopeless break. This is a possible winning move here by Chavanel.
Well, I have to say, Sylvain Chavanel, Phil, this year has probably had the best year of his since the early part of this season. It's a clever move, this, but this is a difficult place to do it because we're on long straight boulevards coming into Nîmes, and they've got him in their sights all of the time, and all they have to do is control the amount of pressure they keep in their chase at the front end of the main field and pull him back in when they feel it's safe to do so. But it's still Milram in control.
Yes, and having to work very, very hard here now, and Liquigas are sending the troops up in those lime green jerseys as well.
On the left-hand side, you might just notice one or two riders moving forward there from Garmin-Chipotle. The third rider in the line is Julian Dean, champion of New Zealand and a very good sprinter. In the past, he was the lead-out man for Thor Hushoff. Here at the Tour de France, he's sprinting for his own account. Now, he's moved himself up into the top 10 or 15.
Well, he finished 9th yesterday across the line, did Julian, so he's finding his form. He's getting better as the race goes on. There's that crash again here. Watch the picture on the left. You'll see the bike go up in the air. The rider didn't go up in there, but how did he not do so?
Well, he was a very lucky man. I think he did a full roll-on somersault over the top of his bike.
How lucky were the riders to that falling bike?
You're always alert at a moment like this, but it always amazes me how riders manage to avoid an incident like that when you're charging along at 60 kilometers an hour.
Well, back to Sylvain Chavanel, the time trial champion of France here. He's on his own. He's riding his own personal time trial at 5.3 kilometers away. We'll see the banner very, very short. Oh, I thought we were going into the crowd there for just a moment as we pull that one out. 5.3 kilometers to go. There's the banner down the road. If anybody's got a chance, it's this man. 6 wins under his belt this year.
10 seconds is his advantage at 5 kilometers to go. There's the information, the banner giving him that sign. 3.1 miles to the finish. He keeps looking over his shoulder, but he is keeping, Phil, a very high tempo here. But to win a stage like this solo on a run-in towards the finish, you've got to be able to ride at almost 60 kilometers an hour on your own.
Well, if anybody can do it, Sylvain Chavanel can. He's riding his 8th Tour de France. Remember, early on this tour, he held the King of the Mountains lead for a day when he was away in a breakaway. And that breakaway was being chased down by his brother in the white jersey of FDJ. And they're going to have to do the same again if they want to win the stage today. Well, 4.7 to go.
It's a brave move by Sylvain Chavanel. He's not showing any signs of weakness at all. The kind of rider who can pull off a move like this is riders like Vyacheslav Ekimov, who's now one of the team captains of Team Astana. He was the rider who could jump out of the pack like this and hold a pace of 55 kilometers an hour for 4 or 5 kilometers. 9 seconds, and still the German team on the front, Team Milram, they're thinking about their man, Erik Zabel. The pale blue jerseys are Team Columbia. They're thinking about Mark Cavendish, who's looking for 4 for 4 on the flat stages.
Well, he's just gone under the 4 kilometers to go banner there now, absolutely flying along this dead straight road. It's in his favour a little bit because he's a very good rider. He's 29 years of age now, Sylvain Chavanel. Had his 29th birthday just before the Tour de France started, and he's opening a little bit of a gap. This is a big shock, but perhaps Milram are getting it together here.
Oh, they bunny hopped over that little roundabout there as they tried to stay at the front end of the main field. There's a lot of riders there, Phil, in the lime green jerseys of Team Liquigas. Maybe today will be the turn of Kiki on the front end of the main field. They've not started their lead out yet. There's Oscar Freire in the green jersey. He leads the points classification. They're fanning out all over the main road. Now the organisation on the left is the pale blue riders of Team Columbia. Hincapie first, Marcus Burkhardt. In the back of that line is a young man by the name of Mark Cavendish. They are a great team when it comes to the lead out, and all of a sudden when they decided to, the Frenchman is back in the fold.
Well, he's being caught just on 3 kilometers to go. And now the grimace of the riders from Liquigas here as Francisco Chiqui is in there. And there's a run coming on the right, and that's surely to bring Thor Hushovd into the race now. The one man we're looking for, and he's there on Hushovd's wheel, is the lighter green jersey of Oscar Freire as they head towards 1 kilometer to go.
Well, round the corner, still Liquigas very much in control of the front end of this peloton. Moving up the outside now, it's the riders from Quick-Step. 1,000 metres left now as they look over the shoulder. Lead out man sits up. That's always very dangerous because he goes from 60 kilometres an hour down to 40 and slips straight the way back down through the pack. Now it's Team Milram in control. Erik Zabel is right up there in 3rd position. Cavendish is not far away either. He's got the wheel of Julian Dean, who's up into 6th.
Huge lead out by Brett Lancaster of Milram. He swings off now. The final lead out will come for Erik Zabel. He'll never get another chance better than this. He's right at the front as he's challenged now. Kiki is trying to come through from 5th wheel as they cross swords. Julian Dean is locked in there in 3rd place. He's on form, dodging and out of our sight because he's so small. Is Mark Cavendish, and he's boxed in Mark Cavendish. He's going to have to come with Oscar Freire from the centre of the pack. Watch him move to the left. Now he comes. He makes the space. Cavendish goes. The rocket has been launched. Mark Cavendish being challenged by Robbie McEwen, but this is the new Robbie McEwen, and no one can match Mark Cavendish. It's a long way to the line. Make it number 4. He is totally untouchable. Congratulations to him from Jimmy Casper. He just forced open the gap, Paul, and then he was through.
Phil, at 200 metres to go, he was boxed in. He was closed out. I said, this time, my young man, you have completely blown it. But all of a sudden, the door opened up in front of him, and once he saw that door was wide open like a barn gate, he went straight through the middle of it. He has got an incredible turn of speed, this young man, over the last 50 to 100 metres. And you're right, it is amazing to see Robbie McEwen behind him, because I think in front there in the plain blue jersey, we're looking at the new Robbie McEwen.
Oh, yes, absolutely unbelievable. 4 wins for Mark Cavendish, unprecedented in British cycling history. He rides for Team Columbia. They love him on that team, and boy, they're never going to let him go anywhere because he really flies the flag for the USA here. There's the congratulations. Oh, they can't believe it. They would just love to do that themselves, but they can't. This man is the fastest sprinter in the world at the moment. Look at the face of George Hincapie.
He's going back, Phil, down the line, looking for his teammates, looking for the congratulations. Kim Kirken, George Hincapie, everybody's there, and there, what a scene as well. That's where the gladiators used to fight in the olden days.
Now we've got a new one. Well, it's absolutely incredible. This is the amphitheatre here in Nîmes, which we saw at the top of our programme. It's still very much in operation. It does that sport of bullfighting, which I detest, but also you get plenty of pop concerts here as well. Well, Team Columbia strike again. Mark Cavendish gets a 2 out of 2 days of racing. Final results and podiums coming up. TV, Mark Cavendish winning from Robbie McEwen. That's the best position for Robbie so far. Failure it was, and not Jimmy Casper in 3rd place, his teammate. Heinrich Hausler from Gerolsteiner 4th. Oscar Freire 5th for the second day running. Thor Hushoft again behind him though, 6th for him. Duque was in 7th, Zabel 8th. Julian Dean did try another 9th place, same as yesterday for Julian. And Sebastian Chavanel, after all that hard work by his team, only managed 10th. Robbie Hunter home in 11th. Stegman's a bit further down in 12th. These are all great sprinters, but they can't match Mark Cavendish, that is for sure. Ruben Perez there topping the 15. Let's have a look down. Martin Mascant, Garmin Chipotle is coming very strong in his tour. Young man, 17th today. And Jimmy Casper, in fact, getting home in 20th place. Tour de France started in Brest, and the hills today will gradually become big mountains tomorrow. But today, the sprinters may have a say, you never know. It's a long way beneath a hot sun. 121 miles it is, the way the race comes from Nîmes down to where we're sat right now in Dean. Too many of those names in the action today. This is the rollout this morning. There's Cadel Evans with that 1 second lead. Oscar Freire in the green jersey. As we head out now, heading towards Digne-les-Bains. And by the time we got to the first sprint at Saint-Marie, 21 riders were clear. And in the sprint, there, as you can see, Will Fishcorn of Garmin Chipotle going across in second place. Stein de Volder was the first man, and Bernard Eisel was the third man. But that breakaway of 21 got snapped up, but 4 of them decided to keep on going. And they are still in the lead, and there's the names for you.
Well, you've got in that breakaway Jose Van Gutierrez, William Bonnet, Bram Tankink and Sandy Cassar in the white jersey. He's the Frenchman who last year, Phil, was a winner of a stage of the Tour de France. Well, today is a very hot day indeed. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, sunny and with a slight wind, a slight breeze, I would have to say, yes. Really, west-southwesterly at around about 5 miles an hour.
It's a beautiful, beautiful day, except if you've got to put the pressure on in the Tour de France. And you can see by the length of this line that they are taking that 4-man breakaway quite seriously here. There's a lot of riders that want to do something. Look at this, only 49.8 miles left to go.
Well, Phil, in the first hour of racing, we covered 52.5 kilometres, 33 miles an hour. The second hour of racing, 45 kilometres an hour, for an average speed of, so far in the first 2 hours of racing, of almost 48 kilometres an hour. That's an average speed of roughly 30 miles an hour. In the main field now, all of a sudden they've got a little bit of anger starting to come in. Team Liquigas in the lime green jerseys for Filippo Pozzato have come to the front. They want to try and mix it up, but also the light blue jerseys of Milrem. And a lot of people think that Eric Zabel could be the man looking for the win today.
Well, thanks to the extraordinary sprint finishing of Mark Cavendish this year with his 4-stage wins, there's a lot of teams in this race, Paul, have got very little to show for 2 weeks in the Tour de France.
Certainly, and for riders like Oscar Freire, Eric Zabel and men like that, they would like to see whether they can get themselves a stage victory. A lot of people will think they can get rid of Mark Cavendish, Phil, on the nasty little 4th category climb down towards the end. But again, the holiday makers have turned out to see the Tour de France once again. It really is amazing every night when we move forward how many camping cars there are out on the route.
About 13 kilometres still to go to the top of the Côte de Man, and then we go downhill to a sprint in Oraison, and then we'll head up to the climb, the Col de l'Orme, which is a col, but it's only 4th category, and that's where they might manage to crack up and break for the finish. Now, as we came onto air today, sad news reaching us that Barlow World, they've only been in the sport a couple of years. They came in as a wildcard team last year, have taken the decision today to pull out of the sport because of Moises Duenas, the guy who tested positive after the time trial, and that is really extremely sad. This was an excellent team. It would be a huge blow to South African cycling, as well as to riders like Robbie Hunter and new pro there, John Lee Augustin.
Yeah, very sad news for the cyclists, Phil, but it goes against company policy, and they felt that they had to make that decision vis-a-vis all of their employees, and of course vis-a-vis a lot of their suppliers and people that they work with. So tough decision to make, but when it's a corporate policy, there's not very much you can do.
No, so I happen to know the CEO of that company, Chris Fisher. He was a great supporter of this sport, and he often had to fight boardroom discussions not to sponsor cycling. He wouldn't have much of a leg to stand on after what has happened during this Tour de France. So that's a big team leaving the sport. But for the riders here, they're enjoying a sunny ride today, and they're under pressure. 2 teams at the front there. They want those 4 riders back. Have a feeling this is going to be a tough day on the eve of entry into the Alps, and Paris is on the other side of the Alps. See you in a moment. Not surprised. He had to make the move when he did. I think it was a little bit earlier than he wanted to go. He wanted to get a bit closer to this climb because at 9.5 kilometers to go over the top, he would have had a real chance. I'm not sure now. You see, this road doesn't appear very hard on television, but they are climbing steadily all of the time now. And you see this, Paul, they're trying to get things organised, the chase.
Well, what happened there was the rider from Bouygues Telecom just couldn't hold the wheel of his teammate in front of him, and so as not to break the line, he put his hand back and gave what is called the Madison sling to the other rider behind him to close the gap up and said, look, I can't do this anymore, I'm out of here.
Yes, well, the other rider looked quite confused there. He wasn't too sure whether he wanted to go forward or backward, but anyway, the other guy went backward. There's the peloton. Life in the back is hurting. Fabian Weckman there also. As we continue on, let me remind you for the final time, nip over to Saab Wash and Win sweepstakes. Put my teeth back in, versus.com/fly to the finish. Enjoy your chance to win some great prizes. The watchword today, which you'll need, is Cervelo. And that's also one of the prizes, so enjoy that. This is still Gutierrez now, but is he going to make it? Looking a bit slim, isn't it? It's about this stage of every day of the Tour de France. We always hope the attacker does fool the bunch and get away with it, but it looks like he may not. Oh, he's added a second. There's still a hope. The computer's saying the catch will come at 11 kilometers now, but 12.5 is where we are. So he's 3 kilometers from the top of the climb. So he's about to start the climb, Paul.
He's about to start the climb, and he's losing impetus. You can see the top part of his body now, Phil, is starting to rock a fraction. That's just trying to keep those big pedals ticking over and keep his pace as high as 30 miles an hour. But once they see the straight, well, there's the barrier. Just that little banner there indicates the start of the climb for Jose Ivan Gutierrez. These guys in the main field are making a hard time of trying to pull him back into the fold. And queuing up behind him, there are 1 or 2 riders waiting to take advantage, including Alejandro Valverde, champion of Spain.
Well, looking at Stephen de Jong's pulse rate, it just shot up to just under 150 beats. He's gone into the yellow zone. Next stop, the red zone, so it's beginning to hurt here. There is the peloton. Now, let's see, at 14 seconds, they can almost reach him. It is coming down alarmingly quickly now. And if they do get near him, we'll see riders sprint off the head of the pack to try and make their dive for home.
2.5 kilometers to climb, an average gradient of just inside of 5%. The summit of the climb, to be exact, is 9.5 kilometers to go to the finish, but it peaks out at 734 meters. That's nothing really compared to what we're facing up till tomorrow, but it will feel like a massive mountain for this man here, number 39, 35, Jose Ivan Gutierrez.
Well, we've had no shortage of rent-a-crowd today, have we? They have been all along the route today, enjoying a warm summer's day in the south of France, in the shadows, we're almost in the east of France here, in the shadows of the Alps. 13 seconds the gap. He is doing brilliantly here, Jose Ivan Gutierrez. There's the crowd and there's the peloton swinging out onto the wide boulevard. Shame for the chaps on the right. That's a hard way round. But thankfully they're all round safely, and this is the attacks we expected. They can see each other.
Thomas Voeckler has come out of the front here. Now, this is not really a surprise at all. This man likes to rise to the occasion. One of the reasons the team has been all over the front end is to try and set something up for this final climb of the day. This is what's happening at the back. A lot of riders were waiting for this climb because they knew it was going to hurt, but the attacks are coming thick and fast. The chase behind Thomas Voeckler was taken up by a rider from Team Lamprey.
Well,
there's the catch.
There's the catch straight by him. Voeckler, though, is he being joined by Damiano Cunego? It could well be him coming on here. All those riders who sat up at the back might well have included Mark Cavendish simply because that was not the attacks they wanted. It's not Cunego. It could be Matteo Bono who's made a move here.
Well, that was a very sharp move, but he's not really got that much of an advantage off the front end of the main field. But I tell you what, Thomas Voeckler has been caught, and instead of staying in 5th gear of the attack, he's gone straight into reverse.
Well, he made it to about the 11-kilometer point, the computer getting it right in the end, and they wiped him out. A great shame. The peloton altogether. Thomas Voeckler made his move. He thought he had a chance. They're on him straight away. Now, let's just see how we tail out on the peloton here. A lot of riders, when that attack came, simply sat up there. Just looking at this guy's face, Paul, it could well be Daniele Righi here, who's made the move.
Team Euskaltel-Euskadi are coming across the line there. This is a great move by the men from the orange team of the Basque Country. The pacemaking on the front is now being taken up by Team Quickstep. That's a very long line of riders. The Cadel Evans is right up at the front end of it. Not a problem at all for him. But now another move coming over the top of the race. Pretty much controlled. Vincenzi Nibali is leading out there at the front end of the main field for Team Liquigas, but I think he's trying to set something up for his man, and his man has got to be Pippo Pozzato.
Yeah, Stuart O'Grady dropping off the back of the peloton there as well. They want a reasonable ride going in. This looks like it might be Carlos Barredo.
I think it is Carlos Barredo. This is the damage, Phil, at the back end of the main field. The sprinters are not enjoying from the back end of the group. Looks like a Chula going backwards for Team Barlow World. There's the indicator of 10 kilometers to go to the finish line, and that's around about 500 meters, Phil, from the top of the climb.
Well, while we see Carlos Barredo going here, his teammate Stefan Young, I mentioned, shaking his head. Stefan, the back of the bunch. So look at this now, all of that hard work done today by Liquigas to try and set this up possibly for Pozzato, and look at this. This I think was to be expected. Mark Cavendish wasn't able to follow those flurry of attacks, so if Team Columbia are going to win today now, it's attention Gerard Cholik.
But what's nice to see is in second position in the this is Cavendish. He won't give up. He won't give up. He's trying to stay in contact. He's going to have to try and pull himself inside out, Phil, if he wants to stay in the field. But end of the main field, in the pale, fourth overall in the class. At the back is the yellow jersey of Cadel Evans. This is really full on here.
Well, this is the only way. They've got to lift this and pedal to the upper limits, these super domestiques of the teams, to try and crack the back of the field and prepare the way for their team leaders. Pozzato and Kiki are up here for Liquigas.
Bernard, that strange style of his, very gangly as he gets right onto the back of the rider from Liquigas. Coming across as an acceleration now coming from Team CSC. It looks the style of Andy Schleck, and immediately you can see the yellow jersey. He will not let one of the Schleck brothers go clear.
Cadel Evans immediately showing his strength. This is the warning now. The Alps are over the shoulder. But as they come over the top of the climb here, Cadel has joined the split.
So too as Alejandro Valverde, straight across the gap. Now watch for the rider there who's the champion of Spain. You've seen that. There are 5 riders just up the front of the main field. Look at that snake, Phil. I don't think if we're looking here at Mark Cavendish, he's actually in contact with the main field anymore, because it is only a small group in front of this.
Yes, and Rigi is now back there with him here. So too Jens Voigt, but look at the cool face on that Valverde here. He's watching his teammate go. He looks across, doesn't react, because this is Pereiro who's gone.
Pereiro has seen the chance here. They've got a lot of riders in the front end of this group, and they're looking for the victory here this afternoon. Chasing them down there. Right on the front, though, is Team CSC. Bernard Cole is still right up there in the pale blue. Also, Cadel Evans, very attentive here this afternoon. Valverde looks imperial to me.
Oh, and what about Cadel Evans? He's watched everybody. He thought he saw a chance to open his gap just a little bit there and prized a little more than 1 second to go in the Alps tomorrow. There's Mark Cavendish in the group just off the back. Well, there was a lot of riders throwing it at. It looks as though they might be coming together here just now. And if you look over the shoulder there, there's still a lot of bike riders in this peloton. And will start to slip away from the summit right now. We're going to see a lot of flourishes of action.
4 kilometers to go. That's around about 5.5 minutes of effort, and he's the one rider, I think, in the main field who could pull off a move like this. But behind, it seemed to me as if there were 2 teams trying to organize the chase. Milram still doing a lot of work for Eric Zabel. Zabel's probably the fastest of the men who survived. Now, I don't know if Gerard Cholik is up there, or if they're thinking, of course, about Kim Kirken.
Well, Chavanel is still pulling away from the riders here. He's a rider in his 8th tour. Oscar Freire is still in this group, and the man who's leading in the points, he would be the obvious man to take it out if he got to a sprint now, I think. But they'll have to work hard. The irony is, when David Moncoutier won here, he too, as he is now, a Cofidis rider. So they know what it's like to win in Digne-les-Bains. He's flying through the chicanes here, and he's only 3 kilometers to go. That looks a bit awkward for the breakaway. But oh my goodness me, Cadel Evans just about made that.
Well, they're all lined up. Front end of the main field, inside of that banner now, indicating 3 kilometers to go to the finish. I really don't know, Phil, because we can't get down and see exactly who is in the group, who Team Columbia are working for this afternoon. Did Gerhard Czolik get himself over that climb to survive on climbs like that? But what they've got to do if they want to duke it out for the finish line this afternoon is try and catch this man, Sylvain Chavanel. He will not give up. He keeps looking over his shoulders. Race radio is crackling through to me to say he's got himself 5 seconds, but there is the main field. They've got this man in their sights and they've got control of the front end of the peloton.
Well, they've taken the advantage of rushing out through that roundabout. They're full of adrenaline now as they charge in. George Hincapie is certainly in here for Team Columbia, and he's a man who can pack a sprint in a bunch like this. Oscar Freire is sitting about 8 men back, poised at 2 kilometers to go now. It's always sad to see, but they are coming so quickly now. It is Team Columbia, Mark Cavendish Team Columbia, who is coming up, but we don't think Mark is here. They are under 1.8 kilometers to go. Team Columbia responsible for wiping out the breakaway. They are massing at the front, I think now, for Gerhard Czolik.
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of sprinters in this group, Phil. I've seen the man who leads the sprint classification, Oscar Freire. He is right up there. So too on the left-hand side there is Alejandro Valverde, champion of Spain. Little bit of a disorganization coming through now. The Milram jerseys are up there and they're thinking about their man, Erik Zabel, who is a rapid finisher in a situation like this. A moment of slowing down can create a moment of confusion. Marcus Burkhardt now comes to the front for Team Columbia. There's the banner they've been looking for. 1,000 meters to go. There is Oscar Freire up into 4th place, and it looks to me as if there's a black and white jersey there, and I can't believe that is Julian Dean.
Julian Dean is sat in there, the champion of New Zealand, as he goes under that kilometre kite, and the field now will race down to what is a great sprinter's finish. This is the last obstacle as they go around that roundabout. Team Columbia is setting the pace, but they haven't got Mark Cavendish in their slipstream, and Oscar Freire in green is a huge danger now.
Well, Julian Dean is also pretty much of a huge danger. There is Gerhard Czolik. He's right up there. He's looking for which wheel to follow. Pipo Pozzato's up there into about 4th or 5th position. Now they're slowing down. This is dangerous because it can get confusing. There are a few Frenchmen moving up there too.
Well, it's down to Zabel on second wheel here. Is this going to be the day the 38-year-old gets another stage win in the Tour de France? When he thought his days were done, he's won 12. That's a German record. He's in a perfect position in second wheel. Freire has chosen to take his wheel. There's a rush from Jimmy Casper on the right of the picture here. This may still be a French victory. I think it's Jimmy Casper. It might be Romain Feyenoord, but I think it's Casper who is clear of the field as he comes up to the line now. A run here, and it's coming from Schumacher right on the line, and it's going to be a battle of the Germans, but Erik Zabel has got himself there again, and Freire is through on the line. The man in green takes it after 2 days of finishing 5th. Oscar Freire gets the victory in Dean-les-Bains. Well, that was an incredible finish. Poor old Mark Cavendish on this occasion wasn't there to contest the sprint.
Well, just check out this man, Oscar Freire. We've been talking about him for a number of days. He's been 3 times champion of the world. He's not wearing the green jersey for no reason at all, Phil. It's because he's the most consistent bike rider in the race so far on these flat stages. There he got what he's been chasing for, and we said before the start that this was an Oscar Freire type day. Well, there's a confirmation of that. The man in the green comes up to take maximum points. Now he's going to look very solid at the top of the leaderboard in this competition.
Yes, I quite agree, and the fact that Freire has won, I think that's the last we'll see of Mark Cavendish now. He will leave the race almost certainly tomorrow morning. Think of his Olympic gains, because Oscar Freire is heading to Paris, a very solid leader of the points competition. He's earned that, he's got great form, and now he's finally won a stage in green, and nobody who wears that green jersey wants to go to Paris without at least 1 stage win.
Well, that's a real grande campionissimo there by Oscar Freire, because he really had to suffer to stay at the front end, and that was, I have to say, Phil, rather a confusing sprint to the line.
Yes, it most certainly was, and it's Oscar's 5th win of the year as he gets the victory for Rabobank. And did you see the sweat dripping off in there? It's so hot. It'll be Duque who'll have finished 2nd, and Zabel got 3rd, Dean got 4th. That's as I read it over the line. But we'll take a break and we'll sort all of that out. There's Duque on the right and Dean over on the far right. Good sprint by Julian Dean. Taking out what is for him his 5th win of the season. and he's now got a win in a stage of the Tour de France. Take a look at that. Oscar wearing green. He's easy to pick out. This will be his 4th ever historic win in a stage of the Tour de France. Got mixed up there. I really thought when that move came it was all curtains for everybody. Then the reaction came and the chase down. Duque is the red rider there, and also up there too was Eric Zabel. But look at the speed of Oscar as he switches sides there and then opens up full power, and he wins quite convincingly ahead of Leonardo Duque, the Cofidis sprinter, who congratulated him there on a great finish. A look from a different angle. I thought for a moment Eric Zabel was going to wave the flag of victory, but it wasn't quite to be. Oscar was too fast. Good sprint by Julian Dean gave Garmin-Chipotle a nice result in 4th place off in the black and white there. There's the congratulations around the back. Let's see if we can show you the full results. Here they are. Oscar Freire getting the win over Duque, Eric Zabel, Julian Dean and Stefan de Jong, who looked to be cracking, got himself back into that, and it was the Quick Step rider who finished in 5th place. Alessandro Bolan, always a good bet in a sprint, 6th. Ruben Perez, Euskaltel sprinter, was 7th. Jérôme Pinot, a Bouygues Telecom, was 8th. Zato was 9th. Top 10 completed by Thor Hushovd. He lost a few points today to Oscar Freire. Florencio, the Bouygues Telecom sprinter, was 11th. Schumacher, who was so near the front in that sprint, suddenly faded to 12th when they all sat up. Martin Elmiger was 13th. Lang and Filippo Pozzato 15th. Top 20 completed there by Kim Kirken, keeping well up with the leaders. John Lee Augustin, the youngest cyclist in the race, first Tour for him. He's in 17th place, and Chris Froome, his teammate, in 18th place. Two guys who are looking for sponsors, well worth employing. Let's go to the finish line.